Strap in, because the moment we've all been anticipating has finally come to pass after years of Whoopi Goldberg silencing opposing views, dismissing guests like they didn't matter, and ruling the View like her own private domain. Someone finally pushed back, and let's just say Whoopi wasn't ready for it.
If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
This wasn't just a debate, it was an absolute on-air demolition. Karoline didn't simply confront Whoopi Goldberg, she dismantled her, calling out the double standards, cutting through the usual drama, and leaving the entire table speechless, a moment unlike anything we've ever witnessed on The View. And now the fallout is massive. ABC executives are reportedly in panic mode. Rumors of major shakeups are flying. And as for Whoopi, her days in the spotlight might finally be numbered. So what exactly did Karoline say that left Whoopi humiliated in front of a national audience? You're not going to want to miss this. But first, if you're into raw truth and bold political showdowns, be sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe to stay updated.
And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you, because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Karoline called out what she described as the most divisive and vile speech any president in a lifetime has ever delivered, accusing Biden of effectively declaring war on half the nation. The fireworks began the instant Karoline walked onto the set.
Because we believe in putting America first. It's not radical to want to put your country and your own people first. It's not radical to want to have a strong border.
What was meant to be a dialogue quickly devolved into an outright ambush. Whoopi, donning her trademark smug expression, rolled her eyes before Karoline could even finish her opening line.
Trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech.
Joy Behar didn't hesitate for a moment before unleashing one of her signature spiteful jabs.
The corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race.
This wasn't a debate, it was a calculated ambush. The hosts of The View assumed they could overwhelm Karoline with woke talking points and silence her. But what came next, they never saw it coming.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though. It's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
Karoline snapped back, sharply questioning whether women are now reduced to their looks, and if being beautiful means you can't also be intelligent. Let's stick to the record. Karoline has credentials that speak for themselves. She graduated from St. Anselm College, reported for Worrell in New Hampshire, launched a congressional run at 25, and became the youngest press secretary ever at 27. She handled those press briefings without flinching. No massive binder in hand, no stammer, no hesitation, just precision and poise. Now take Whoopi, what she really done lately aside from tossing jabs and pulling faces. Frankly, it's starting to feel less like critique and more like plain old-fashioned envy.
She lost by 8 or 9 points, but she still put on a good campaign. Then she was the press secretary for the Trump campaign, going on TV literally every day.
Karoline stood firm even while heavily pregnant and adjusting to life as a new mom, facing a panel that seemed more interested in takedown than discussion. And she didn't just survive the moment, she owned it with a calm, composed presence. She faced a room charged with hostility and refused to back down. No flinching, no scrambling, just a clear, unshakable stance. The panel of The View threw everything they had at her, and she met it all without blinking. Without losing her cool, she went on call out. What many viewers have sensed for a while, that the women of The View are disconnected from the real world outside their studio walls. Karoline argued that ABC needs to wake up because what the panel presents isn't a range of perspectives. It's an echo chamber, one voice amplified 5 different ways. Dissent isn't debated, it's silence. And as Karoline began to speak, she didn't raise her voice or lose composure. She relied on facts, numbers, dates, quotes, presented in a steady, deliberate tone even when Joy tried to cut her off. Karoline didn't waver. She didn't get rattled. Instead, she reasserted herself with poise, keeping the conversation on track. And as the back and forth unfolded, it wasn't Karoline who seemed out of her depth. It was Joy, flustered, scrambling for talking points, struggling to regain ground. Karoline didn't just hold her own. She exposed just how shaky the show's usual tactics can look when met with someone who's actually prepared.
I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Karoline, thank you very much for your time.
Then came the moment that shifted everything, the kind of line that doesn't just land, it echoes. Karoline looked the panel dead in the eye and said, "You sit up here preaching about women's empowerment. But the second a conservative woman finds success, you chalk it up to her looks. That's your definition of empowerment." The room froze. No laughter, no comebacks, no clever retorts, just silence. Even Joy Behar, the self-appointed queen of interruption, sat back speechless, her usual quips nowhere to be found. But Karoline didn't stop there. She leaned in and pushed even harder. She called out what she described as a true nature of wokeness, not a movement for equality, but a convenient tool to shut down opposing voices. She pointed straight at Whoopi and said that no one embodies that silencing tactic more clearly than her day after day on national television. It wasn't said with venom, it was said with chilling precision, the kind of statement that lands not as an insult but as an indictment. The audience reacted instantly, audible gasps shifting in seats. The energy in the room flipped from smug superiority to stunned disbelief, and beyond the studio the clip detonated across social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, every platform lit up, viewers divided, debates ignited. But one thing was clear: Karoline had just turned the tables. Hashtag surge, Whoopi exposed Karoline, unleashed a view on all trending inside ABC. According to reports, the network went into full-blown crisis mode. The narrative had changed, and they weren't the ones writing it anymore.
Now, do you think this is going to make people doubt whether CNN can stay objective, or is this more the same of everybody's against?
Karoline didn't slow down. She stood tall at the press podium, eyes locked on a sea of skeptical reporters, and called the media out directly. No fluff, no pandering. She accused them of spreading lies and made it clear her team wouldn't stand by while faucets flew unchecked. "We won't let misinformation slide," she said firmly. "And yes, we will call it out even when it's you." Then came the jab heard around the internet. She joked she wasn't even sure if Biden was in the Oval Office or upstairs napping. The room tensed. Egg prices have skyrocketed 65%. She reminded them, tying it back to the administration's failures. Message received. The fallout was swift. ABC's top brass was said to be in meltdown mode. Insider leaks started trickling out. Executives scrambling phone lines, burning sponsors, began getting cold feet, worried about brand damage. And something even longtime fans didn't expect happened. They turned social media threads filled with disillusioned viewers saying what had once felt progressive now felt petty. Then the twist: Whoopi Goldberg didn't show up for the next episode. No warning, no explanation. ABC issued a vague statement claiming she was taking time to reflect on recent discussions. Sure, she was. The writing was on the wall. The once untouchable queen of The View was suddenly dangling by a thread. ABC faced a brutal choice: clean house and bring ideological balance to a show losing relevance, or double down and risk irreparable damage. The View has always fed on controversy, but now the backlash was outweighing the buzz. When a show built on strong opinions loses its credibility and starts bleeding viewers, it's not just scandal, it's a crisis. And that crisis is hitting where it hurts the bottom line. Advertisers are backing off the show's trust, is eroding the ratings, slipping fast. All signs point to one stunning possibility. Did Karoline Leavitt just drive the final nail into The View's coffin? Now we hand it over to you as Karoline's take down the most savage moment in the show's history. Has Whoopi finally worn out her welcome? Should ABC show her the door? And most importantly, are we witnessing the end of The View? Sound off in the comments.